Hello, this is One Mana Left, and we've had our 323 patch notes now. There have been some disappointed people in some things that are happening to Righteous Fire. Righteous Fire is a very beloved skill gem in the community. It's a style that's been played for years. It's one of the oldest gems, and over the years, it's gone through a lot of changes. Back in the day, the way you would play Righteous Fire builds is you would scale a bunch of life or energy shield because the gem only scaled off of flat damage from your life or energy shield. This is the way the gem remained for many years, and toward the end of it, you had things like mana stacking guardians that were getting like 25k ES and still having like 2 mil plus DPS, which at the time was one of the most powerful builds in the game. And then about 3 years ago, 3 or 4, they decided to nerf that. And instead of Righteous Fire only being based off of your regular energy shield, now it's based off of half as much of your energy shield and then a flat component that comes from the gem level. Well, for characters like you might be seeing on your screen right now, this is basically a 50% nerf. But over the years, people have really perfected this playstyle of just scaling gem level, and they've kind of abandoned stacking life at all. A lot of your RF characters you see running around right now only have like 4k life. But you have right now you have a newer opportunity with the way it's changing back to scale the energy shield. So with the patch 323 patch notes, we have this line of text. So as of 323, Righteous Fire no longer deals the flat damage, and now instead of being based off 35%, it's based off 70%. And then instead, we get more base radius for the quality too, all of which are good things. So, there are characters out there, though, that have, there's a cop right outside my house with his lights flashing now, it's awkward. There are characters out there that the way they build Righteous Fire, they get a lot of energy shield. Notably, someone named Captain Lance, who I'm sure a lot of you have heard of in the community, made a character last league in Crucible called Gigarf, Giga RF. And he made a character through the assistance of a lot of community donations, probably 30 to 40 mirrors worth. And he made the most like mirror perfect character he could. And that character had 69,420 energy shield. Although I think he could have gone over 70. Just went for the meme number. He did this with a rare belt too. I'm doing it with a mage blood. He had a rare belt. I have a rare belt in my stash that can maybe show the difference here. But rare belts get a lot more ES than mage bloods, but mage bloods are a lot tankier. So cue the guy in the comments who's complaining about mage blood build, but for what I'm doing in this video, I'm showing a proof of concept, because the way Lance made that character is pretty simple. He used Ivory Tower, which is this item right here, which says plus 30 to maximum energy shield per 100 reserve life. Then he stacked up to like, close to 20,000 life. And then with reserving all that life, he had blood magic, he had the extra enchant on the chest, not the 15% increased defensive modifiers. And through all this life scaling, with blood magic, no mana, he got to a character that had 69k ES, and overall was a probably the most powerful version of Righteous Fire that's ever existed. Now, Righteous Fire is really not that good of a skill endgame. It has a lot of trouble scaling damage. Most good endgame builds do much more damage than Righteous Fire, like an astronomical amount more. I've played like 3 different builds this league that can break 1 billion DPS. And RF is both limited by the dot cap at 35 mil, but it's also just hard to scale past like 10. But so while Lance made Giga RF, which was life-based scaling, I've decided to show off let's call it a proof of concept for this video, which is the mana scaling. So it's roughly the same end product, but it does it in a different way. Instead of going blood magic and just scaling as much life as possible, I'm going the mana route. I have 21,700 mana, And the way I'm getting most of my energy shield, like 80% of it, is a combination of two keystones. The first is I have Sanctuary of Thought, which Sanctuary of Thought, if you look at Path of Building here, is this guy right here, which makes you gain 20% of energy shield, or of mana as extra maximum energy shield. The other thing I have as a Guardian is I have Radiant Faith, which gives 10%, but that's unlike the Sanctuary of Thought 20%. The 10% from Radiant Faith is multiplicative with your like sources of energy shield too. So it's kind of hard to explain. It'd be a long explanation, but basically the 20% and the 10% are about the same amount of energy shield because one doesn't double dip with percents ES scaling. They stack additively on Sanctuary of Thought. But on Radiant Faith, it's a multiplier on a flat amount. It's a little bit different, which ends up being kind of more powerful. But by taking both of these things and stacking mana, I end up getting a lot of energy shield. Now, here's the thing, though. RF is still kind of a ZDPS build, especially what I'm used to. But with this setup right here, I have kind of a scuffed version. It's very high gear level, but I crafted this all solo as a side project. This is my 5th side build, and I've put some effort into crafting the items for it. But this is not like the core of my crafting for the entire league, you know. This is a side gig, and this was just crafted on solo budget. I had one item I borrowed from Z Frozen because I have a mirror amulet for my mana stacker, but it's bad for RF because it has crit multi and mana. But this is an equivalent amulet that's better for this. Mine is slightly better for manaforged arrows, which is what I crafted it for, but this is better for RF. So the only thing that's like not full solo on this setup is I basically swap amulets for that, just to show that if I was actually using an amulet that was more designed for RF. But here's the thing, I'm still missing a lot of damage. I have one scepter that has dot multi on it, but I don't have dot multi on my necklace. I don't have dot multi at all on this void scepter. So I'm missing a lot of damage. The POB I made with VRF can get to 20 mil, but that's assuming I have like dot multi on each scepter and all that. This setup is more scuffed. With VRF I have like 10 to 12 mil. With regular RF I have like 3 mil. But let's see how it does on this field. Let's just check it out. So the first thing is I'll turn on RF, and my regular DPS, like I said, is only about 3 mil. So it's gonna feel on the low side. Like this is not high DPS. But remember, next league this is getting doubled. So however bad this might feel, it is getting doubled next league. Where's this guy? So yes, we're a little on the low side of damage. Actually, I would say we're a lot on the low side of damage. But this is going to get doubled. So have some faith that things will... Oh, well that's awkward. Apparently there's chaos damage on there, and I got cocky thinking I could take off coruscating for this. But maybe that's a good illustration, though, because coruscating elixir for this setup is part of the build that you need. That we can use as an illustration of why you need it. But I'll finish the fight here, just screwing around. I had them beat too, damn it. I had them beat. Who does chaos damage? Synthate? Synthate might Nightmare must do chaos damage, I guess. Alright, let's kill him. So we'll let that serve as an illustration of why we're going to need this flask. For the AFK intro, I'm not able to do that because you rely on flask uptime for this build. And if I just, if I sat here AFK for 5 minutes talking, I'm not going to have coruscating elixir up anyways. So I just gave up on it for this. But I'll show you here some mapping. Just to see what it's like with a character that obviously is like super geared, but this is mainly using my manaforged arrow setup. To try to just do this as a side gig, but I have 50,000 energy shield. Let me do a layer of the Hydra here. The thing is, I probably most of the time don't need coruscating. In fact, it feels pretty comfortable mapping without it. I almost have not died at all with coruscating, without coruscating. But, there is content you can do where you need coruscating because, once again, this build is relying on, Radiant Faith and Sanctuary of Thought. But the thing is with that is, that means you're going to have very little mana unreserved and you just have Ivory Tower normally. So like a lot of the mana builds that use Ivory Tower, it does require you to have coruscating elixir. So this is, I'll just do a map here with no coruscating. I have Soul Ripper on and I keep forgetting to actually press it. I'm still used to this setup. I've only put this together a couple hours ago and I'm getting used to it still. So especially if you're a hunter, if you don't care about dying, you can just play with a little bit of unreserved mana. And also, the radius is getting buffed next league, too. So this will have more radius. But you can just map like this. It's fine. Whatever. I'm playing destructive play, so I'm going to wait to kill this. There we go. Kill these guys. I still have 5 layers of Delirium, so this is a slightly tanky Hydra. In fact, it's going to be incredibly ZDPS as long as he's got Delirium layers, because he's got that damage reduction up. So, remember though, the things that I feel like that could improve right now, next league, it's going to have more radius, and it's going to have double the damage. Because almost none of my damage is coming from the flat damage on Righteous Fire. Basically none of it. Most of my damage is coming from my energy shield. So, I do not consider this to be a good build right now, because I'm used to playing incredibly powerful mana stackers that do billions of DPS. So for me, this feels bad, but I think if you take this and double it, it'll be okay feeling for mapping and bossing. You won't be able to delve with it, but you'll be able to kill bosses with it. Like right now, if I do a Shaper, if I press VRF, it does about 25 to 30% to him. But next league, that will do the full 50 needed to phase him, so I'll just have to press VRF and phase him every time. That will feel way more comfortable. I'm going to show you one more map, though, just to show you how I deal with coruscating elixir. Because coruscating elixir turns off Righteous Fire. The reason for that is because it sets your life to 1, and being at 1 life resets Righteous Fire. See, if I turn this on right here, and then I use coruscating elixir, it turns off Righteous Fire. In some weird cases, it's actually a positive thing, though, because there's odd scenarios where you might want to have no Righteous Fire on. But, still, I'm going to want to run coruscating. And this is actually how I deal with it. If you had Flicker Strike on your bingo card, you win. Because I'm dealing with my life with Flicker Strike. So how I do that is, I'm going to use coruscating here. And then I use Flicker Strike to get Trauma, to just self-hit, and I only need to recoup 1 damage. That's it. 1 damage. 1 damage. So, as long as I can get 1 life back, as long as I have 2 life left, I will be fine. So, then I can just keep turning it back on, because the recoup happens over a span of 4 seconds. So, once again, this is still a kind of ZDPS skill compared to what I'm used to. And I'm clearly not playing it well. I'm like not used to like playing with this setup. It could certainly be better, but I'm treating this video as a proof of concept for the mana scaling method. Now, I think the life scaling method is stronger overall, probably. I've compared the two side to side with, like, basically taking Gigarf and, you know, lining it up next to next to this version, and this version does get tankier. That is one benefit. But the thing is, the life-based Gigarf has both more damage and more radius with the mace mod on like per strength, whatever, you know. So there's two things that it has, two major advantages it has going for it. That I would say probably make it better, but here's the thing. Here's the counter argument. I have been playing this build for 2 hours, and I kind of put this together, like I said, as a proof of concept. I think with like the same level of perfecting and min-maxing, this could obviously be a lot better. This is not like my main skill, main build. I've played this the whole league and min-maxed the shit out of it. No, this is like I said, proof of concept. And the thing is too, is it's still missing that double damage. Man, this is EDPS. Holy shit. But the mapping I've done so far to experiment is much better with Soul Ripper. So maybe that's the way to play it, honestly. Is to just use Soul Ripper and not use coruscating. Because the coruscating does add awkwardness. I'm still playing with it. I'm still experimenting with it. But that map right there, to me, looked a lot worse because of the not having Soul Ripper. But I'll do one more Soul Ripper map. We got a Beyond Enfeeble Soul Ripper map. Let's see if Soul Ripper feels better now that I actually remember to press it. But yeah, of the things this build does not have going for it, largely rooted in the fact that it's a Righteous Fire build, and it's missing a double damage buff that's coming in a couple days. Aside from those key points, it is incredibly tanky. Like, I've looked at the POBs a little, and I'm pretty sure this is tankier than Gigarf was. It's got obviously lower max ES, 69k versus 50k. But I have Mage Blood on, and that build was using a rare flask to get all of those stats. And see, like I said, I don't really think you need coruscating most of the time if you have like a little bit of unreserved mana. I think even it might... Maybe the way to play this, honestly, is to have, like, you know, 5k unreserved life. Okay, we have a 5-layer Delirium Baydat. This is gonna be a ZDPS kill. But like, oh, that's actually a damage buff. We're up to 57k. But the way to play it might just be to abandon coruscating and just keep like 5k mana unreserved. Because with Sanctuary of Thought, that gives you 100% radius. Because you get 1% radius per 50 unreserved mana. So I think both by having that 5k mana and by also having the 100 AoE, I think at least for mapping that setup's better. And you don't necessarily need the coruscating with like a decent amount of chaos res. And then, like, you know, needing only, whatever, 3 to 5k unreserved mana. I think the mapping in general... Oh, I'm waiting for the bosses to get summoned, but I forgot I've already witnessed this. But, yeah. That's probably the smoother way to play it, is to just play it with, like, 2 to 5k, depending on your chaos res, like 2 to 5k life, or mana, unreserved, and just rely on that for all your chaos coverage. Alright, let's get Delirium rewards here. It's not going to let me loot my splinters because of the frost wall, damn it. I'm out of portal scrolls too. Alright. This is what I consider a proof of concept, though. Most of the videos I do is like me showing some crazy ass billion DPS setup where I just like obliterate some max HP monster instantly. That's the way I typically play the game. So for me, playing an RF build that's very ZDPS, just because every RF build is ZDPS, the highest DPS RF build on the entire server right now is ZDPS. Like, there might be an RF character on the server right now that has like 50 to 100% more damage than this. That's just full on level 34 Righteous Fire with like 300 dot multi. Maybe they can get more than this. But I was going to show this video off as a proof of concept that this might be a way to scale RF in 323 where the damage is getting doubled. And maybe with some things like the Wildwood Ascendancy Charms, there's some different like super Ascendancy combos that could actually make this stronger than life-based. But I think overall the life-based version is stronger. But like I said, with the same amount of effort put into min-maxing it as the life-based version has, this would clearly get better. I have not put that same level of effort in, but we'll see how the giant ES builds go in 323. This is not my first rodeo is playing low life mana Righteous Fire Guardian. I did it years ago, and I've been kind of playing mana builds ever since because they're a lot stronger, and that remains to be the case. But maybe someone will go for the Radiant Faith plus Sanctuary of Thought combo, or even more with the Wildwood Ascendancies next league in 323. I'll see you guys then. That'll wrap up this RF proof of concept.